shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today we're taking a look at a film called Companion. It came out earlier this year. And it is pretty much an anti-AI, anti-technology movie, as most of these type of movies usually are. Now, it's funny that in my written review I realized I was using examples from almost 40 years ago, if not less. One being Blade Runner, which was technically about replicants, not about artificial intelligence to the degree of being a robot. And then, of course, The Stepford Wives from 1975, which this movie pretty much is not at all that different from that film. They're certainly the setting and everything else is a little different. And then there was the film AI, a story that was originally written or based on a book, Super Toys Last All Summer or something like that, that Stanley Kubrick had adapted, and then eventually Steven Spielberg directed. So, but I decided that when I would do this video, I would see the film that was a little bit more recent, called Ex Machina, by director Alex Garland. That was his directorial debut. Ex Machina and Companion have their similarities. But really this story is about robots who want to be, or feel they can be, sentient. Can they have feelings? And can they love? And the answer is, sure, they're just programmed to do so. And that, to me, is really what it's all about. Not that they can have feelings that are not generated from a programming standpoint. So, but the interesting thing about this film, Companion, which is a pretty good movie, very entertaining, and is that the character Sophie Thatcher plays is a female robot, very advanced. She's programmed to, she has these memory implants of how she first met this guy, who in this film is played by Jack Quaid, Josh, who we learn purchases this AI woman, this robot, essentially. So he can relate to her from a meet-cute memory implant that, of course, is all BS. I mean, it's all a fallacy, because she's programmed to believe this memory that he put in her. But this memory, it never really happened. She is not, obviously, flesh and blood, but she thinks that she is. That's the difference. She believes that she's flesh and blood. Whereas I think in Ex Machina, the female robot that you see in that film is fully aware that she's a robot and highly advanced artificial intelligence. But with Companion, this girl, whose name is Iris, has no idea. The interesting thing about this movie, I will say, and that's why I think there is a, whether it was intended or not, there's a linkage to the Stepford Wives, in the sense that the movie starts with this memory, which we don't know is a memory, other than we think that she's a real human girl. I mean, I didn't know anything about Companion other than possibly it has to do with a female robot, but that's really all I knew. So I took the opening sequence literally as something that, she was relaying to us, an actual memory. And she's in a supermarket, and it's brightly colored, and she's wearing a, brightly colored dress and everything else. Everything has bright colors to it. And it's interesting because Stepford Wives deals with women that go to the supermarket a lot. And I'm talking about the 1975 film, which was remade into a satire, which I did like, in 2004 with Nicole Kidman. But that was more comedic than this other, than the original film, which is more straight up horror to some degree. So she's in there, and she looks like a 50s housewife. That was my first thought. She looks like a 1950s housewife. And that scene, other than the canned goods and everything else that looks like it's from modern day, seemed like a moment out of a 1950s supermarket scene from, a movie from the 1950s, or documentary footage from that time. So when housewives ordinarily went to the supermarket, not so much the men. As this story progresses in Companion, Josh, turns out he is not such a good guy. He seems like it, and he's a nice guy. This actor is Jack Quaid, who's most recently in a film called Novocaine, and I didn't realize he is actually the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. I had no idea. Quaid didn't give it away for me. I didn't even think of that. But anyhow, essentially Josh is Iris's boyfriend. Iris believes him to be her boyfriend. He takes her to some house off in the distance somewhere, pretty much a private area, where this supposed Russian mobster lives. Now, I'm not going to give away any spoilers if you haven't seen the film, so let's just say for the time being, an alleged Russian mobster, and we'll leave it at that. And he has a few friends over. This guy is played by Rupert Friend, the actor, and this guy is actually married. He has $12 million at his disposal, but he has a girlfriend named Kat, played by Megan Suri. And she is none too pleased by the presence of Iris. So they expected Iris to come over. They knew that Josh was going to bring this girl who is a female robot. Now again, as the movie starts, we don't really know this quite yet. I mean, the poster at the time sort of gave it away, but let's just assume you're not really sure what's really happening here. Because the fantastic thing about Sophie Thatcher is that she makes you believe she is human. And that's why it's a fantastically alive performance. She is really good. So anyway, they go to this desolate lake house, and there are other friends in attendance, including the fun-loving couple Eli, played by a very sprightly Harvey Guillen, I'll say, and Patrick, played by Lucas Gage. And Patrick turns out to be an exemplary cook. So the following day, something happens with Iris and the Russian mobster. And I'll just leave it at that. Let's just say chaos erupts, which you might expect in a story like this. Now, my only issue with this picture, I think, really, that prevents it from being a great movie, but it is a good one, and one that I probably would see again. I mean, it's good. It's certainly good enough. It's an entertaining 97 minutes, which is a short film for nowadays. But the whole deal, this Russian mobster and the $12 million, and then these suggestions of how these characters are there, who are supposedly his friends, are very greedy. It just felt like something that we have seen one too many times, and it took away from the movie itself, I think. Because the movie could have asked complex questions. What is the nature of a relationship really? When this girl realizes that she is, in fact, a robot, but believes that she's human. What does that mean? And why would somebody need this? I mean, first of all, the character Josh is a good-looking enough guy that you would think he would be able to get a girlfriend or a date. Why did he feel the need to have an AI companion? I know it sounds like a stereotype, but if the character had been more of an incel, maybe, which is what we would say nowadays as the choice phrase to describe such a person who has trouble getting a date, fine, but it's not believable. He doesn't seem like he would have a problem. It's almost, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like casting Tom Cruise in the role, or, well, maybe even Ben Stiller. But this guy doesn't look like he would have a problem. He's charming enough, and, he's not aggressive or anything. It's just, this guy shouldn't really have a problem. Why did he get an artificial intelligence robot? And what you discover as the film goes on is that this is common practice. And that, to me, it just blew my mind, because nowadays, you can get like an AI girlfriend online. These are the type of things that go on now. Do we live now in this time, post-COVID even, which is one way to look at it perhaps, where we're so insular that and so connected to technology that any sort of intimacy with anybody who's human is nil. It's just not going to happen. And that to me is interesting, but the movie doesn't quite explore that. It becomes sort of a thriller, and some of it is very entertaining, don't get me wrong, but the elements having to do with the plot element, the razor-thin plot element having to do with this $12 million, and I'll leave it at that, is something that you could see in almost any sort of, I mean, you could see it on TV, on FBI's Most Wanted, or any of those shows, or anything else, except this movie really should have focused more on what Ex Machina did, which is to deal with some of these questions, the morality of it. Is this ethical? And the movie doesn't seem to really do that. It doesn't really explore it. Ex Machina did. And but neither movie really is that different from what we've seen before. I mean, this sort of this idea of a man wanting a servile female robot is really nothing new, and it's becoming more and more common, I've noticed. The movie is sort of, it's a little bit goofy, it's explosively violent, and it's a little satirical. But I feel that it didn't explore enough of this idea of the technology taking precedence over intimacy with real human beings. And some of you who have seen the film maybe will feel it's not necessary, it's sort of implicit. But I like when, I mean, this movie could have developed more into, I mean, you could still keep the satire, but develop it even more dramatically where it doesn't involve this money situation. So those are just my thoughts. But there were moments when I was on the edge of my seat. So I will say that as a thriller, it works, and it has the satirical elements, but I wish it was more satire than thriller. But I don't want to say too much in case any of you check it out, because there are some surprises, and there's a fantastic ending, which in many ways echoes Ex Machina, the ending of that film. But I'll leave it at that. At any rate, I would recommend seeing both together. I think these are interesting films to see. I just feel one is more philosophical, Ex Machina, than the other. But those are my thoughts. Tell me yours. Have you seen Companion? What do you think of it? Sophie Thatcher, this is her movie. I mean, she is well on her way now. I mean, she did this so well. It's very nuanced and just, it's terrific. I mean, she's a dynamo. I mean, this girl is going to have a hell of a career. She's the center of attention. I mean, you can't turn away from her. So the screen loves her, you can tell. So tell me your thoughts, and those are my thoughts on Companion and a little bit on Ex Machina. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do review films on occasion, not as frequently as I would like to lately, but I hope that can change. So you can also check out my film review site, which is located in my profile. You'll see that, and I write more reviews than I do videos. If you are a subscriber, thank you. I have actually accumulated a few more subscribers in the last few days, and I do review films, like I said, here on occasion, and talk about certain film topics. I hope to do a little bit more than usual, but I'm gonna try. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Companion, and I guess that's about it. This is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.